Good to have you with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary on this Monday edition. Endorsements rolling in. I don't know what it means that the Des Moines Register thinks that Hillary Clinton should be president of the United States. Actually, they have endorsed losers in the past. So I don't know what it means. This is Bernie Sanders responding to this stuff.
Well, I have a lot of respect for the Des Moines Register, but I think in every instance, we are more than capable of doing the job of President of the United States. When we talk about foreign policy, let us be very clear. One of the candidates running voted against this disastrous war in Iraq. Go to my website, go to YouTube, find out what I said in 2002, what I feared would happen. And it gives me no pleasure to tell you that much of what I feared would happen in terms of the destabilization of the region, in fact, did happen. Hillary Clinton voted the other way. In terms of domestic issues, the reason that our campaign is generating so much excitement is that, in fact, we are focusing on the issues the American people care about, and that is the decline of the American middle class, the fact that people are working longer hours for low wages, and almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%, and that income inequality is sustained by a corrupt campaign finance system.
That's where the American people are, the last part of that soundbite, all of the things that he's hitting on this campaign. Yet if you watch the mainstream media, my head's exploding yesterday on the couch waiting for the football games. I'm watching CNN, and I see Kevin Madden, who used to work for Mitt Romney, say that Bernie Sanders is an extremist and he's out of the mainstream. I'm going crazy listening to this. All of the things that Bernie just mentioned in that soundbite poll in the majority of what Americans want done when it comes to the issues in this country. For more on this, let's go to Katrina Vanden Heuvel, owner and editor of The Nation magazine. Katrina, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ed. The mainstream media, we're going to step back from this campaign, whatever happens, and we're going to better understand how the mainstream media has failed the people. First of all, last I checked, the airwaves belong to the people, but only in the last few months have the airwaves decided to turn their gaze, their lavish gaze, away from Donald Trump and decide, hey, maybe Bernie Sanders is a real candidate. This is foolish, this stuff that he's such an extremist. He is in the mainstream. His issues are in the mainstream of this country, and they haven't been heard because for too long the mainstream media has really failed to understand what is mainstream and give us a slice of America. I wouldn't say necessarily the 1%, but the 10%. So I think Bernie Sanders spoke powerfully, probably on the Des Moines Register, probably the Move On endorsement, maybe the Nation endorsement. We endorsed him 10 days ago, but the Move On endorsement in Iowa, if they have, I think they said 43,000 members, you got some serious ground troops there, because what goes on in Iowa, as your listeners may know, is a pretty Byzantine process. And the big number out of Iowa, Ed, 1681. That's the number of precincts. Can Bernie Sanders' campaign translate the enthusiasm into organization? We'll see.
They're pretty confident that they can. And the key here is why Iowa is so important to the narrative is that the mainstream media is out there already making the sales pitch, and that's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. And the other progressives that were on the show that I was watching yesterday sat there and allowed Kevin Madden to get away with painting Bernie Sanders out of the mainstream. That infuriated me as much as anything. I don't know where Donna Brazile and Bill Press were. Bill Press is a friend of mine, but my God, wake up, dude.
Ed, my head explodes often when I watch some of the TV. But here's the thing. The other narrative, so to speak, that's going around, and it's being peddled by a lot of good liberal commentators, is this idea of we got a candidate of the head and a candidate of the heart, a candidate of experience and a candidate of romance. Well, last I checked, experience is a real mixed blessing when fundamental judgments have been wrong and counterproductive. Bernie Sanders on the campaign trail laid that out, whether the decision to authorize the war in Iraq, whether it's, going light on regulating Wall Street and the banks, which ravaged our economy through recklessness, greed, and fraud. I mean, I think it's just a crazy narrative, and we got to take it on because we've seen calamities from those with great experience. It's time for some freshness in our politics.
There's no doubt about it. Now, if this narrative against Bernie, if by chance he loses Iowa, this narrative is only going to be hyped. Oh, you see, Bernie can't win. And so I think Iowa's crucial from that standpoint. I think New Hampshire is crucial. And if he wins, according to the latest numbers that are out, if he can mobilize and if he wins those two, the question is it a game changer? Not to put the cart before the horse, but you know what? There are strategists out there saying, okay, now what? What do you think?
I think Iowa and New Hampshire are critical game changers. No one's voted yet, Ed. Let's remember that. And voting changes momentum. Voting changes polling. I think the more time Bernie Sanders has to get his message out. Listen, he's still introducing himself to thousands of people, and we just talked about how great the media has been in allowing him to get his message out without this crazy overline. He's too extreme. So I think South Carolina's probably still real tough. Nevada will be interesting. I think, we're seeing a division, Ed. You probably followed it, between labor leaders and the base of the labor movement. Nevada will be an interesting test case. So agree with you that Iowa and New Hampshire game changers, and a lot of work being done.
Speaking of Nevada, this is former President Clinton on the campaign trail talking about anger of the two candidates.
We got to tell people who think they may be lured by people that this other guy's madder than she is. And that feels authentic. And besides, these slogans are easier to say. And I say that in no disrespect. I admire that.
What do you think of that?
What I think
Katrina?
is Bill Clinton. Listen, Ed, I was watching TV yesterday, too. Bill Clinton was on the Golf Channel. I mean, what he was doing, I don't know. He's the best talker in politics, though I don't agree with half of what he says. But what I think is that anger meme is so wrong. Bernie Sanders is saying America's in deep trouble. But he's also saying we have to mobilize people, young people, all people, to make the structural changes that are pressing and urgent, from climate change to soaring inequality, and that the failure to meet these challenges with proportionately outsized solutions risks a slow-motion slide into disaster. He is speaking with passion. That's what I think. And the ability, more the mainstream media or Clinton has to paint him as angry, it scares people. I noticed yesterday, I have to say, Bernie Sanders in Iowa speaking in a more modulated way. It is the case that in the last debate, it might have been one note, but he speaks with passion because I think he understands the need to take this moment, this rigged system, upend it, and he has a strategy of change, mobilize millions of people to be with him and wind at his back, and that's what that ad he's just done is so interesting. It's really using those dulcet sounds of Simon and Garfunkel, calling on people to join him in a future you can believe in. It's really more about a movement, which is really something I think he needs to build on more and more.
Katrina, look forward to having you on the news with Ed Schultz on RT America.
Terrific.
You're just got such awesome insight and cut right to it with a real breath of fresh air and truthfulness. I appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you,
to
Ed.
visit.
Thank you. Take care.
You bet.